The Galactic Crisis. In the vast expanse of the Milky Way, where countless civilizations had risen and fallen, an unprecedented threat loomed on the horizon. The Galactic Council, a body of representatives from the most advanced species in the known universe, convened in an emergency session aboard the massive space station Harmony. The station's central chamber buzzed with nervous energy as beings of all shapes and sizes gathered. Some floated in anti-gravity fields, others slithered across the floor, while a few existed as pure energy contained within specialized suits. At the center of it all stood High Counselor Xylix, a tall, willowy creature with iridescent skin and 4 arms. Esteemed colleagues, Xylix's voice resonated through the chamber, instantly silencing the murmurs. We face a crisis unlike any our galaxy has encountered in its long history. The Void Plague has returned. A collective gasp rippled through the assembly. The Void Plague was thought to be nothing more than a terrifying legend, a cautionary tale told to frighten young ones. But the grim expression on Xylix's face confirmed their worst fears. For those unfamiliar with the ancient texts, Xylix continued, the Void Plague is a sentient cosmic anomaly that consumes entire star systems, leaving nothing but empty space in its wake. It nearly wiped out all life in the galaxy eons ago before it was contained by a long-extinct race known as the Precursors. Holograms flickered to life around the chamber, showing the Void Plague's destructive path. Entire planets crumbled into dust, stars imploded, and the very fabric of space-time warped and tore. The containment field the Precursors created is failing, Xylix explained. We estimate we have less than 1 galactic standard year before the Void Plague breaks free and resumes its consumption of our galaxy. Panic began to set in among the council members. Shouts of despair and frantic questions filled the air. Xylix raised all 4 arms, calling for order. We have not given up hope, the High Counselor said firmly. Our scientists believe they have found a way to reinforce the containment field and potentially neutralize the Void Plague once and for all. However, the mission to do so is extremely hazardous. A hologram of a massive, ominous-looking space station appeared in the center of the chamber. It rotated slowly, revealing its intricate design and the swirling, chaotic energy contained within. This is the Precursor Containment Station, Xylix explained. It exists in a pocket dimension at the edge of our galaxy. The team we send must navigate through treacherous space, enter the station, and activate the ancient machinery to reinforce the field. Then, they must find a way to neutralize the Void Plague itself. Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the crowd. It seemed an impossible task. I will not deceive you, Xylix continued. The chances of survival for this mission are minimal. The station is filled with unknown dangers, reality warping anomalies, and the very essence of the Void Plague itself. We need a team of individuals who can think creatively, adapt to impossible situations, and possess the sheer determination to succeed against all odds. The chamber fell silent as the gravity of the situation sank in. Who would be willing to undertake such a perilous mission? It was Grix, the representative of the mighty Thoraxian Empire, who broke the silence. High Counselor, with all due respect, such a mission is folly. No sane being would volunteer for certain death. Xylix's mouth curved into what passed for a smile among their species. That, esteemed Grix, is why we're not asking for volunteers from our known civilizations. We're reaching out to a species that has only recently joined the galactic community, a species known for their resilience, adaptability, and what some might call a reckless disregard for their own safety. Realization dawned on the faces, or equivalent sensory organs, of the council members. Xylix nodded, confirming their suspicions. Yes, we're recruiting humans. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices. Humans were a controversial topic in galactic politics. They hailed from a planet classified as a death world, a term used for planets so inherently hostile that it was a miracle any sapient life evolved there at all. Earth, with its powerful gravitational pull, extreme climate variations, and multitude of natural disasters, had forged humanity into a species of survivors and innovators. Silence. Xylix called out. I know many of you have reservations about humans. They're unpredictable, often aggressive, and their methods can seem unorthodox. But it is precisely these qualities that make them perfect for this mission. Their ability to think outside conventional boundaries and their astounding tenacity in the face of impossible odds give us our best chance at success. The High Counselor's gaze swept across the chamber. We have already sent out the call. A message has been broadcast to Earth, explaining the situation and the dangers involved. We await their response. As if on cue, a young aide rushed into the chamber, their tentacles quivering with excitement. They whispered something to Xylix, whose eyes widened in surprise. Esteemed colleagues, Xylix announced, a mix of shock and admiration in their voice. We have just received word from Earth. Not only have they agreed to undertake the mission, but they have been inundated with volunteers. Thousands of humans are clamoring for the chance to save our galaxy, despite the near certainty of death. The chamber fell into stunned silence. The idea of willingly volunteering for such a perilous mission was alien to most of the gathered species. Yet here were these humans, these newcomers to the galactic stage, ready to lay down their lives for a galaxy they had only just begun to explore. Xylix's voice was filled with newfound hope as they addressed the council. Perhaps we have underestimated our human friends. Their courage in the face of this crisis is admirable. We shall begin the selection process immediately to assemble the team that will embark on this crucial mission. As the council session adjourned, a buzz of excited and nervous chatter filled the air. The fate of the galaxy now rested in the hands of a species many had dismissed as primitive and reckless. But as the reality of the humans' unhesitating response sank in, a new sentiment began to spread through the gathered representatives. Maybe, just maybe, humanity was exactly what the galaxy needed in its darkest hour. The Deathworlders assemble. The Galactic Council's recruitment center on Luna buzzed with activity. Thousands of human volunteers from every corner of Earth had gathered, each hoping to be chosen for what was being called the mission of the century. The air was thick with excitement, determination, and just a hint of fear. Colonel Sarah Chen, the liaison between Earth's governments and a galactic council, stood before a holographic display, reviewing the profiles of the top candidates. Her weathered face, etched with the scars of countless battles, remained impassive as she swiped through the files. Quite the turnout, Colonel. Chen turned to see Dr. Elias Nkosi, Earth's leading xenobiologist, approaching with a steaming cup of coffee in hand. His dark eyes twinkled with enthusiasm behind his round glasses. Seems like half the planet wants to go on a suicide mission, Chen replied dryly. Nkosi chuckled. Can you blame them? The chance to save the galaxy. It's the stuff of legends. Chen's expression softened slightly. Let's just hope we can find the right team for the job. As if on cue, the doors slid open, and 5 individuals entered the room. They stood out from the crowd, each radiating a unique aura of capability and determination. First came Jake Rodriguez, a former deep-sea welder turned space engineer. His muscular frame and calloused hands spoke of a life of hard work, while his eyes sparkled with an inventor's creativity. Next was Dr. Aisha Patel, a brilliant quantum physicist with a reputation for thinking so far outside the box that most weren't even sure where her box was. Her small stature belied a mind that could unravel the mysteries of the universe. Following her was Zora Okoa, a seasoned astronaut and pilot. She moved with the fluid grace of someone accustomed to zero gravity, her keen eyes constantly assessing her surroundings. Then came Nikolai Volkov, a hulking ex-military man with cybernetic enhancements. His presence was intimidating, but there was a gentleness in his eyes that hinted at a complex personality. Last, but certainly not least, was Kiona Mary, a master hacker and AI specialist. Their fingers never stopped moving, interfacing with unseen systems through their neural implants. Colonel Chen nodded approvingly. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to humanity's last stand. The team gathered around the holographic display as Chen began the briefing. You've all been chosen for your unique skills, and frankly, your ability to survive in situations where others would perish. Make no mistake, this mission is unlike anything humanity has ever undertaken. She pulled up an image of the precursor containment station. This is your destination, a station built by an ancient race to contain a threat known as the Void Plague. Your job is to enter this station, reinforce its containment field, and find a way to neutralize the threat permanently. Sounds simple enough, Jake quipped, earning a few nervous chuckles from the group. Chen's expression remained serious. The station exists in a pocket dimension. The laws of physics as we know them may not apply. You'll be facing unknown dangers, possibly reality warping anomalies, and the very essence of the Void Plague itself. Dr. Patel's eyes lit up at the mention of physics-defying phenomena, while Kion's fingers flew even faster across their invisible interface. So, a walk in the park then, Nikolai rumbled, his voice a deep bass that seemed to vibrate the air around him. Zara leaned forward, studying the station's schematics. What kind of ship will we be using to reach this pocket dimension? Chen nodded to Dr. Nkosi, who stepped forward. That's where things get interesting, he said. We've been working with Galactic Council engineers to modify one of our ships. We're calling it the Odyssey. A new hologram appeared, showing a sleek vessel unlike anything they'd seen before. It was roughly cylindrical, with various protrusions and attachments that defied easy categorization. The Odyssey is equipped with a dimensional drive that should allow you to pierce the veil between our reality and the pocket dimension, Nkosi explained. It's also outfitted with the most advanced shielding and life support systems we could devise, given the unknown nature of your destination. Jake whistled appreciatively. She's a beauty. Can't wait to see what's under the hood. You'll have plenty of time to familiarize yourself with the Odyssey, Chen said. You leave in 48 hours. A heavy silence fell over the room as the reality of their situation sank in. They were about to embark on a journey from which they might never return, facing dangers beyond imagination. It was Kion who broke the silence. Well, I don't know about you all, but I've always wanted to be a galactic hero. Might as well save the universe while we're at it. Their words seemed to break the tension. Zara grinned, Nikolai let out a booming laugh, and even Dr. Patel cracked a smile. That's the spirit, Chen said, allowing herself a small smile. Now let's get you prepped for the mission of a lifetime. The next 48 hours were a whirlwind of activity. The team underwent intensive briefings on everything from the known history of the precursors to theoretical physics of pocket dimensions. They were fitted for specially designed suits that could adapt to unknown environments, and practiced countless emergency scenarios. Through it all, a bond began to form between the 5 humans. They were no longer strangers thrown together by circumstance, but a team united by a common goal. As the launch time approached, the team gathered in the Odyssey's airlock. The ship hummed with power, ready to take them on their impossible journey. Colonel Chen stood before them, her usual stoic expression tinged with something that might have been pride. You carry the hopes of not just humanity, but the entire galaxy with you. Remember your training. Trust each other, and never forget the ingenuity that makes us human. She saluted them, a gesture of respect that spoke volumes. Godspeed, Odyssey crew. The universe is counting on you. As the airlock closed and the launch sequence began, Jake looked around at his teammates. Well, folks, he said with a grin, let's go make history. The Odyssey's engines roared to life, propelling the ship and its crew towards their date with destiny. As Earth shrank behind them, the vastness of space stretched out before them, a canvas of infinite possibilities, waiting for humanity to leave its mark. First contact with chaos. The Odyssey hurtled through the fabric of space-time, its dimensional drive humming with otherworldly energy. Inside, the crew braced themselves as reality itself seemed to warp around them. Dimensional breach in 3, 2, 1. Zora's steady voice counted down from the pilot's seat. Suddenly, the universe outside the viewports erupted into a kaleidoscope of impossible colors. The ship shuddered violently, and for a heart-stopping moment, it felt as if they were being torn apart at the atomic level. Then, as abruptly as it began, the chaos ceased. The Odyssey emerged into something. "Is everyone all right?" Jake called out, his engineer's instincts already running a mental checklist of the ship's systems. A chorus of affirmatives sounded, though Nikolai added a gruff, "If you can call feeling like you've been put through a blender all right." Dr. Patel was the first to reach the viewport, her eyes wide with wonder. "My God," she breathed. "Look at this place." The rest of the crew joined her, and collectively held their breath at the sight before them. They were floating in what could only be described as a sea of fractals. Geometric shapes twisted and morphed, creating patterns that seemed to hold the secrets of the universe within their endless iterations. In the distance, they could see the looming form of the precursor station, a massive structure that defied conventional geometry. "It's beautiful," Zara murmured, her pilot's eyes already trying to map a safe route through the swirling chaos. Kion's fingers flew across their interface. "Beautiful and deadly. I'm picking up energy readings that are off the charts. One wrong move, and we could be atomized, or worse. Worse than atomized," Jake quipped, though his voice lacked its usual humor. "Much worse," Dr. Patel confirmed, her eyes never leaving the swirling patterns outside. "We're in a realm where the laws of physics are more like guidelines. Anything could happen here." Nikolai cracked his knuckles, the sound eerily loud in the tense silence. "Well, we didn't come all this way to admire the view. How do we get to that station?" Zara studied the navigational readouts, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It's not going to be easy. These fractal patterns are shifting constantly. Any path we plot could close up in seconds." "Then we don't plot a path," Kion said suddenly, their eyes lighting up with an idea. "We become part of the pattern." The others turned to look at them, confusion evident on their faces. "Think about it," Kion continued excitedly. "These fractals, they're not random. They're following some sort of underlying logic, a cosmic algorithm. If we can decipher it, maybe we can use the ship's dimensional drive to sync with it." Dr. Patel's eyes widened in understanding. "Of course, we don't navigate through the pattern. We become part of it." "Brilliant, Kion." Jake scratched his head. "Okay, I'll bite. How exactly do we become part of the pattern?" What followed was a flurry of activity as Kion and Dr. Patel worked to translate the fractal patterns into mathematical equations. Zara and Jake modified the ship's dimensional drive to emit pulses that would match the fractal's rhythm, while Nikolai kept a watchful eye for any immediate threats. Hours passed in a blur of calculations, adjustments, and tense moments as the swirling chaos outside occasionally brushed against the Odyssey's hull, sending shivers through the entire ship. Finally, Kion looked up from their interface, a mix of exhaustion and triumph on their face. "I think we've got it. Zara, on my mark, I need you to activate the modified drive sequence." Zara nodded, her hands poised over the controls. The rest of the crew held their breath. "Now." Zara activated the sequence, and for a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly at first, but with increasing speed, the Odyssey began to move. It didn't so much fly through the fractal sea as it flowed with it, becoming an integral part of the swirling patterns. "It's working," Jake exclaimed, watching in awe as they smoothly navigated through gaps in the pattern that appeared and disappeared in the blink of an eye. As they approached the precursor station, new challenges arose. The fractal patterns became more complex, more chaotic. Strange, ethereal creatures began to appear, beams of pure energy that flitted in and out of existence. "Are they alive?" Nikolai wondered aloud, watching as one of the creatures passed right through the ship's hull as if it wasn't there. "In a sense," Dr. Patel replied, her voice filled with fascination. They seemed to be manifestations of the pocket dimension itself, cosmic antibodies, perhaps, reacting to our presence. One of the energy beings, larger than the others, suddenly appeared directly in their path. It pulsed with an ominous red light, its form stretching out towards the Odyssey like grasping tendrils. Evasive maneuvers, Zara called out, her hands flying over the controls. But their synchronized movement with the fractals made traditional evasion impossible. As the energy being reached for them, the crew braced for impact. At the last possible second, Keon shouted, "Invert the drive pulse." Jake, operating on instinct and trust in his crewmate, did exactly that. The Odyssey's dimensional drive emitted a pulse that was the exact inverse of the fractal pattern around them. For a heart-stopping moment, the ship seemed to blink out of existence. When it reappeared, they were on the other side of the energy being, unscathed. Quick thinking, Nikolai rumbled approvingly, clapping Keon on the back hard enough to make them stumble. As the adrenaline of the close call wore off, the crew realized they had arrived at their destination. The precursor station loomed before them, a testament to the incredible technology of a long-lost civilization. "So," Jake said, breaking the awed silence, "anyone see a doorbell?" As if in response to his words, a section of the station's outer hull began to shift and change. Plates of an unknown material slid apart, revealing an opening just large enough for the Odyssey to enter. "Well," Zara said, her hand steady on the controls despite the tension in her voice, "looks like they're expecting us." With a shared look of determination, the crew of the Odyssey guided their ship into the heart of the precursor station. They had made it through their first challenge, but they all knew that the true test still lay ahead. As the strange door closed behind them, sealing them inside the ancient station, one thought was shared by all. Whatever came next, they would face it together, with all the ingenuity and courage that humanity could muster. The heart of darkness. The Odyssey docked within the cavernous hangar of the precursor station, the ship's systems powering down with a series of whirs and clicks that seemed unnaturally loud in the oppressive silence. The 5 crew members stood at the airlock, each lost in their own thoughts as they prepared to step into the unknown. "Atmosphere reads as breathable," Jake announced, studying the readouts on his suit's wrist computer. "But I'd recommend keeping helmets on. No telling what kind of surprises this place might have in store." Zara nodded in agreement. "Agreed. Everyone stay alert and stick together. We have no idea what we're walking into." With a hiss of equalizing pressure, the airlock opened, and the team stepped out onto the station. The hangar stretched out before them, a vast expanse of gleaming metal and pulsing energy conduits. Strange, angular structures dotted the area, their purpose as enigmatic as the precursors themselves. "It's incredible," Dr. Patel breathed, her scientific curiosity overriding her apprehension. "The engineering principles at work here. They're beyond anything we've ever conceived." Keon was already interfacing with the station's systems, their fingers dancing across holographic displays only they could see. "The architecture of this place, it's not just physical. There are layers upon layers of data, quantum entanglements, things I can't even begin to describe." As they ventured deeper into the station, the surroundings became increasingly surreal. Corridors twisted in impossible ways, rooms that were bigger on the inside than the outside, and gravity that seemed to shift on a whim. "Anyone else feeling like they're in a funhouse mirror maze?" Jake quipped, though the strain in his voice betrayed his unease. Nikolai grunted in agreement. "Duh, and I have feeling the fun is about to stop." No sooner had the words left his mouth than the air around them began to shimmer and distort. Ghostly images flickered into existence, translucent, ethereal forms that bore only a passing resemblance to humanoid shapes. Dr. Patel gasped. Precursors, or echoes of them, at least. The spectral figures seemed to take notice of the human intruders. They gathered around, their featureless faces somehow conveying a sense of urgent communication. Keon's eyes widened as information flooded their neural interface. They're trying to tell us something. About the Void Plague. It's... oh no. What is it? Zara demanded, her hand instinctively moving to the weapon at her hip. The Void Plague, Kion explained, their voice shaking. It's not just consuming reality. It's aware, intelligent, and it's been working to free itself ever since the precursors contained it. A chill ran down the spine of every crew member. The idea of facing a mindless force of destruction was daunting enough, but an intelligent entity bent on cosmic annihilation. That was a whole new level of terrifying. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the station. The spectral precursors vanished, and the very walls seemed to pulse with urgent red light. "What's happening?" Jake shouted over the din. Kion's fingers flew across their interface. "The containment field. It's failing. Fast. We have minutes, maybe less, before the Void Plague breaks free." "Where's the control center?" Zara asked, her voice steady despite the dire situation. "This way." Kion pointed down a twisting corridor. "But there's something else. Something blocking our path." As they raced through the station, reality itself seemed to unravel around them. Walls melted, floors became ceilings, and more than once they found themselves running through what felt like molasses as time itself fluctuated wildly. They burst into a vast chamber, clearly the heart of the station. A massive, swirling vortex of darkness occupied the center, held at bay by crackling fields of energy that were visibly weakening. But between them and the control panel stood a sight that made them all stop short. A humanoid figure, if something so grotesque could be called humanoid. It was as if someone had taken all the horrors of the universe and compressed them into a vaguely person-shaped nightmare. What is that thing?" Jake whispered, his voice hoarse with fear. Dr. Patel's face had gone pale. "If I had to guess, I'd say that's the avatar of the Void Plague. A physical manifestation, it's created to interact with our reality." The creature turned to face them, revealing a face that was a twisted mockery of sentient features. When it spoke, its voice was like the death rattle of a dying universe. "Ah, the meddlers arrive," it rasped. "How kind of you to deliver yourselves to me. Your reality will make a fine first course in my feast of existence." Nikolai stepped forward, his massive frame interposing itself between the creature and his teammates. "Not if we have anything to say about it. Ugly." The Void Plague avatar laughed, a sound that set their teeth on edge. "And what do you think you can do, little humans? I am entropy incarnate, the end of all things. Your struggles are meaningless." As it spoke, tendrils of darkness began to seep from its form, reaching out towards the team. Wherever they touched, reality seemed to dissolve. "The control panel," Kion shouted. "If we can reach it, I might be able to reinforce the containment field." "Right," Zara nodded. "Nikolai, Jake with me. We'll keep this thing busy. Kion, Aisha, make for the controls." What followed was a battle unlike any in human history. Nikolai charged forward, his cybernetic enhancements allowing him to temporarily withstand the reality-warping effects of the Void Plague's touch. Jake used his engineering skills to redirect energy flows in the room, creating barriers of hard light to slow the creature's advance. Zara proved why she was one of Earth's top pilots, using her incredible spatial awareness to dodge and weave through the chaos, drawing the creature's attention and ire. Meanwhile, Kion and Dr. Patel raced for the control panel. Aisha's brilliant mind worked in overdrive, interpreting the alien technology and relaying instructions to Kion, who interfaced directly with the precursor systems. The Void Plague avatar roared in fury as it realized their plan. "You cannot stop the inevitable," it howled, redoubling its efforts to reach the control panel. Just as its tendrils were about to engulf Kion, Jake threw himself into its path. "Not today, you cosmic horror reject," he yelled, using his suit's built-in energy shield to momentarily repel the darkness. With a cry of triumph, Kion activated the reinforced containment field. Beams of pure energy lanced out, pushing the void plague avatar back towards the swirling vortex at the room's center. But even as it was forced back, the creature laughed. "Fools, you've only delayed the inevitable. I am eternal, endless. I will break free again, and when I do, all of existence will know only void." As the avatar was sucked back into the vortex, Dr. Patel's eyes lit up with a dangerous idea. "Not if we have anything to say about it," she muttered, her hands flying over the alien controls. The containment field pulsed, shifted, and then inverted. The vortex of darkness began to collapse in on itself, shrinking rapidly. "Aisha, what did you do?" Zara asked, watching in awe as the void plague's furious howls faded. "I reversed the polarity of the containment field," Patel explained, a manic grin on her face. "Instead of just holding it back, we're compressing it, forcing it to implode." With a final, reality-shaking shriek, the void plague collapsed into a point of infinite density, then winked out of existence. For a moment, silence reigned. Then, slowly, the team began to laugh. It started as a chuckle, then grew into full-blown, slightly hysterical laughter of relief and disbelief. They had done it. 5 humans, against all odds, had saved the galaxy from an eldritch abomination that had terrorized existence since the dawn of time. As their laughter subsided, Jake looked around at his teammates, battered, exhausted, but triumphant. "So," he said with a grin, "who's up for a victory drink? I hear Andromeda has some great bars." Humanity's triumph. The return journey to Earth was considerably less eventful than their outbound trip, but no less tense. The crew of the Odyssey sat in contemplative silence, each processing the monumental events they had just experienced and the implications for the future. As they approached the familiar blue marble of their home planet, Zora's voice broke the silence. "I still can't believe we did it," she said softly, her eyes fixed on the view screen. "Did what?" Jake asked with a grin. "Save the galaxy from an eldritch abomination, or survive Dr. Patel's insane plan to implode it." Dr. Patel huffed indignantly, but there was a twinkle in her eye. "I'll have you know that plan was a stroke of genius. Risky, yes, but genius nonetheless." "Speaking of risks," Nikolai rumbled, "anyone else wondering how we're going to explain all this to the folks back home? I have feeling we punched cosmic horror in face might not cut it for official report." Kyone, who had been unusually quiet since their departure from the precursor station, spoke up. "I've been compiling our sensor data and personal logs. It's a lot to process. The Galactic Council is going to have a field day with this." As the Odyssey entered Earth's atmosphere, they were greeted by a sight none of them had expected. The skies were filled with ships, not just human vessels, but crafts from across the galaxy. A welcoming committee of unprecedented scale. "Odyssey, this is Earth Control," a voice crackled over the comm. "You are cleared for landing at the United Nations spaceport. And welcome home, heroes." The landing pad was a sea of faces from every nation on Earth and beyond. Humans stood shoulder to shoulder, or tentacle, or pseudopod, with alien dignitaries, all waiting with bated breath for the crew to emerge. As the airlock opened and the 5 humans stepped out, a deafening cheer erupted. It was a roar of triumph, of relief, of sheer joy that transcended species and cultures. Colonel Chen was there to greet them, her usually stoic face breaking into a rare smile. "Well done, team," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "You've made not just Earth, but the entire galaxy proud." The following days were a whirlwind of debriefings, celebrations, and ceremonies. The crew found themselves thrust into the spotlight as the saviors of the galaxy. They were invited to speak at the United Nations, honored by the Galactic Council, and became overnight celebrities across countless worlds. But fame wasn't why they had volunteered for what had seemed like a suicide mission. Each of them had their own reasons, their own drives that had pushed them to risk everything for the greater good. 1 month after their return, The crew gathered in a quiet rooftop bar overlooking the sprawling metropolis of New York City. The vista before them was a testament to how much had changed. Alien architecture now blended seamlessly with human designs, creating a skyline that was both familiar and wonderfully strange. "You know," Jake said, nursing a drink that glowed faintly blue, "when I signed up for this gig, I thought the saving the galaxy bit was just marketing hype. Never imagined we'd actually pull it off." Zara chuckled, clinking her glass against his. "Speak for yourself. I knew we had it in the bag from the start." "Oh, really?" Nikolai raised an eyebrow. "Is that why you were muttering prayers when we entered the pocket dimension?" As the team laughed and bantered, Dr. Patel's gaze drifted to the stars visible through the city's light pollution. "You know, we've only scratched the surface of what's out there. The precursor technology alone could revolutionize our understanding of the universe." Kion nodded enthusiastically. "I've been going over the data we brought back. It's incredible. We could spend lifetimes studying it and still only grasp a fraction of what it means." "Well," Jake said with a grin, "good thing we got more than one lifetime now, eh?" He gestured to the bustling alien district below, where species with lifespans measured in centuries, or even millennia now called Earth home. "To the future," Zora proposed, raising her glass, "and to whatever insane adventures it might bring." "To the future," the others echoed, their glasses coming together with a crystalline chime. As they enjoyed their moment of peace, none of them could shake the feeling that their adventure with the Void Plague was only the beginning. Humanity had proven itself on the galactic stage, demonstrating a unique blend of ingenuity, courage, and just the right amount of recklessness to tackle challenges that had stymied older, more established species. The galaxy was changing, evolving. Old barriers were breaking down, new alliances were forming, and at the heart of it all was humanity, the upstart species from a death world that had looked into the face of cosmic horror and not only survived but triumphed. Whatever the future held, Earth and its people were ready. They had stared into the void and emerged stronger for it. The age of humanity's isolation was over. Now the stars themselves were the limit, and even those, as the crew of the Odyssey had proven, could be surpassed. As the night wore on, and the conversation flowed, a shooting star blazed across the sky. 5 pairs of eyes tracked its fiery path, each mind filled with thoughts of the adventures yet to come. For in saving the galaxy, they had not reached the end of a journey, but rather the beginning of a grand cosmic odyssey. The universe, vast and mysterious, awaited. And humanity, with its boundless curiosity and indomitable spirit, was more than ready to meet the challenge.